The Silent Intelligence.
So we have a special treat today. We have an opportunity to interview the man himself, Gavin Whitechurch, the organizer of the IoT World and Executive Vice President with Informa.
Hi Daniel, thank you.
Gavin, great to have you. So I wanted to start with congratulating you with such a great success. How many people came to the show?
We have about 5,500 people here at the show.
Wow.
About 1,600 people were participating in the conference, and a lot of people came to the exhibition to look around the exhibits and also participate in the free content we had at the show.
Excellent. And you also have a separate developer pavilion, right, with a hackathon?
Yeah, we have a hackathon going on, so there's many elements to the show. We have content focused around open source. Some of the stuff on the show floor looks at some of the horizontals around IoT. So we had, for instance, today a security summit. That's a really big, interesting piece. Analytics summit yesterday. Mm-hmm. So what we try to do is create a show that addresses the whole ecosystem of IoT. And the really interesting, challenging, exciting thing around IoT is it's so diverse. Brings together so many different elements to create one new frontier.
Amazing, amazing. How many companies are participating in the show floor?
We've got about 140 companies on the show floor.
Wow.
And they vary from the tiny startups on the little tables of with a few things on it, up to IBM, Samsung, and Intel. Some of the major companies have launched some big things here.
Yeah, the turnout has been absolutely amazing. And last year, that was the first show that you did last year, IoT World. Is that correct?
Yeah, IoT World was first time last year.
Mm-hmm.
In June in Palo Alto, just a hotel-based event.
Right.
And we scaled that, saying we'd get 350 people, actually turned up 700 people in the end. And from that 700, we scaled up to the 5,500 here.
Wow, wow. What do you think is going to be next year?
Bigger. We definitely got
sure.
ambitions to grow the show, and clearly you can see, I think the whole industry here you can feel the buzz, you can feel that we're at the start of this growth curve around IoT, and the industry is immature still, but it's starting to mature, and you can see with the solutions that are coming through from some of the big players that actually there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of value to be created in the marketplace. Yeah.
So you moved all the way from London to Silicon Valley to start IoT World.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell a little bit more what prompted this? How did it all come in place?
Well, the Valley's a great place, isn't it? The innovation here is very exciting, and things cycle very quickly here. And we really wanted at Informa to make sure we were close to all the innovations in the marketplace. So we have a long history of being close to innovations in Europe, and we've done very well by that and segmented that market very well. But I also felt that we needed to have a closeness, a strength of relationship with the innovation in the Valley. And so the first thing we focused on is the area of IoT, and my growing team is kind of focused entirely on that sector. We started with 2 events last year. We have 7 events this year, and next year it'll be more and bigger. And also we'll start thinking about doing some other things as well next year.
Excellent, very exciting. So what's your feeling? What's changing in the whole IoT industry and in the whole landscape?
It's a maturing of solutions. It's people are starting to clarify actually what the requirements of the market are going to be. I think when you look at the top end, the buyers, potential buyers here are still very much early adopters. They're feeling around to see what can be done. But I think if you look 12 months ahead, say, to what the next show is going to be, I think you're going to see more Fortune 500 type companies being more serious and having their ideas, having crystallized a little bit about what they want, and also the understanding from the vendors to have crystallized as well. And so the platform offerings will be more consolidated and more solid, and there'll be a greater diversity of segmented applications being offered. At the moment, the applications and the platforms are pretty horizontal still, but I think you'll still see those horizontal platforms, and they'll be stronger, but you'll see a greater diversity of individual vertical offerings as well.
And I very much agree with that. I think that there's definitely going to be a lot more verticalization as we move forward. But I was going to ask you, I guess we can date ourselves and say we both remember the dot-com boom and mobile boom.
Yeah.
Do you see any parallels with what it was back at the time when the internet and the web was booming and with the mobile boom?
To me, it feels a lot like the mobile boom. You know, I was involved. We're kind of well known from starting Mobile World Congress and running that for 20 years and growing it from 150 people up to 45,000 people. And then, you know, it feels to me like those early days of Mobile World Congress that's you've got that energy, you've got that excitement. I think there's a more reality. People are more mature these days. You know, the whole industry is more mature in the way they understand how cycles work. But there is this tremendous excitement about, you know, the fifth generation of the internet, if you like. That's, you know, people argue about those generations, but I think it does feel like we're at the start of something big.
So where do you think we're in the cycle?
Oh, quite early on the adoption curve. And I think, people have talked to me about whether we're going to enter this kind of, you know, classic trough of disillusionment soon. I don't think so, actually. I think there's plenty of rise in the market still, and I think there will be this clarity around, you know, what people are looking for, what the real solutions are going to be. It's been excitement and energy around just looking at the opportunity, but I think that's kind of boiling down to something much more solid now and in the next couple of years. But I see it as a long cycle. I see, you know, it's going to run for a good 7-9 years, you know, in terms of development. What do you think? Where do you think it's going?
You know, I agree with you. I think we're really early, and it depends. For some people who's been in this for like years and years and years, it feels like it's finally happening. It's going to well advanced. But those who are just starting, it's really early. I agree with you.
Well, it depends what you call it, doesn't it? Is it like Groundhog Day for you? Because it's
right.
Here we are again. It's not M2M, but it's IoT. But it's a continual process of maturation in that sense. When you look at where things were 5-10 years ago with M2M and where we are now, it's a much more open, much more commercialized. In other words, it's a much more commercial system than it was.
Absolutely, but even 3 years ago, I remember talking to companies, and they were kind of in two camps. One camp was saying, "We've been at it for 10 years already. It's going to take another 10 years before we see anything." And the other camp was saying, "IoT, what is it? Fridge talking to a toaster?"
Yeah.
That's like, who's interested, right?
Yeah.
And just within last year, it took off like crazy.
Yeah.
So, but from that standpoint, I think I agree with you. We're really early in the cycle.
Yeah. And I think we focus here on consumer and industrial applications, and I think it's really the industrial scale applications are going to drive things first. I mean, you mentioned the fridge, for instance, and a connected fridge as a consumer, as an individual consumer, how am I going to use that? I can see it might order my groceries and that might have some value for me, but how am I really going to maintain that? Whereas if you take that same application and put it into the enterprise environment, say on a campus situation with a Google or whatever, if you have 100, 200 fridges across your campus and you're looking at your inventory management, then it has a lot more appeal. So I definitely think the enterprise applications are going to be first to drive this.
I agree. So let me ask you, what do you think, or what are your future plans, whatever you can share with us? What are you looking forward to?
Well, later this year we have a show in Europe, Internet of Things World Europe, which is running in Berlin. A lot of interest here in San Francisco in that show. We're also focusing a show on security. It's a key challenge to the deployment of IoT. So that's a 2-day show taking place in Boston. And we have a show around context and location, so looking actually the micro-location technologies. Again, we have sessions here that focus on that. And then as we go forward into next year, then this event will scale very significantly. The Europe event will scale very significantly. And we're looking at other potential vertically organized events that we might address. And then I'm also quite interested in other things like cloud enablers and containers and so on.
Excellent. Super. Thank you very much, Gavin. Really enjoyed talking.
Thank you very much. Thanks for all your support, Daniel.
The Silent Intelligence. Learn more at www.thesilentintelligence.com.